The evil genius Green Lantern.
That's right, folks. The champ is here. Thank you to Burger King for the crown. Welcome into this episode of Total Hockey Now on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel, where I promised in a tweet that we were going to crown a champion today, and that champion was crowned over the weekend. It's not in Canada. No, over there. That's Canada right there. It's not in Australia, which was a real possibility thanks to Gene. No. It's not in the tri-state area thanks to one of the Rivera brothers. No. Right here in Northern California. Champ is indeed here. This crown's going to have to come off in a minute because it's not sitting too well on top of my head. But hey, Chris, welcome to Total Hockey Now at Fuzzy Chris 91.
I mean, man, what an intro that was, eh? I mean, there's nothing. Yeah, crown looks good. You did get to the top. Well done.
Thank you. I know you wanted it to be a me versus you final. Didn't really have that happen the way it did. But nonetheless, we'll go over that in a little bit. But we have a little bit of a business to take care of. And now that I'm the champion, I get to decide things and decree things, right? So my first order of business is the inaugural Total Hockey Now debut champion. I decree that Anthony Rivera returns to this very podcast right now.
Oh, what's going on, gentlemen? Congratulations, Adam, on winning that championship there. I had to come on because I had to talk about my 9th place finish, the awful finish that I had, but I said I would play till the end, and I did that. I was determined to win 9th place, and I totally got that.
I mean, listen, you have a legitimate excuse here because I got to take this off. You had a child right in the middle of fantasy hockey season, first-time dad. So, yeah. I mean, you were having a good season, and then coincidentally, the tail off happens there. Next year, you'll be ready to rock.
Yeah, we had a couple of big injuries to I want to say about 3 or 4 of my top 5 picks. And then we get to the lovely month of January where my goalie tandem, if you like goalie tandems, sometimes they work, but sometimes they don't. And the month of January for my New Jersey Devils and my goalie tandem was not working. So that kind of crushed me this season.
Listen, like I said, next year, you'll have it'll be a different timeline for you. It was your brother who I faced off against in the final. He put up a valiant effort, but my team kind of became a wagon there the last couple of weeks, and it was just I was not going to be denied. My team was not going to be denied. They smelled it and they went and got it.
Do I get to take a little bit of credit for my brother's team since we traded with each other the entire season? Nobody else wanted to trade, and my brother and I just shifted players back and forth.
I mean, you could probably take a little bit of credit and help getting there. Him and I made a deal. I got Dylan Holloway out of him. I had a beat on Holloway early, and I went after him in all my leagues. And I know he got hurt recently, but nonetheless, he was a big player for me down the stretch there. So
it's crazy to me that my best player ended up being Alexander Ovechkin, who nobody knew was going to come out and have the season that he did, and he was completely outstanding. I mean, I know when I went off the air, he was still nursing his injury. He wasn't fully back yet. And then he just went on an absolute tear. And congratulations to him. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it in the show today.
Well, I mean, let's not waste any more time. There it is. Let's update the ovometer there. We are at 895. No zero goes to goal. We have updated the Gretzky headshot there to be from the press conference where he was crying after announcing that he was traded from the Oilers to the Kings. He handled it with total class. I mean, Gretzky doesn't strike me as the type that's like, oh, man, I don't have the record anymore for goals. He's got plenty of other hockey records there. So I don't think that's going to really be much of an issue. But there it is, the ovometer at 895. Ovechkin, congratulations to him. And you know what? I think for the Capitals, it was best case scenario. It's out of the way now. Yep. We know they're going to be the top seed in the Metro at this point, so they can just focus on getting that wrapped up, getting players rested. They don't have to put Ovechkin out there for the last 3.5 minutes of every game, try and get him the goal. So, the Caps can now, they'll have their big game against Carolina tonight. Maybe some message sending going on. We'll get into that when we go through the Thursday slate later. But Ovechkin, and take it easy now. He's got the record.
What an absolute stallion, just of a man. It's kind of, I mean, the bad news was he had to do it on a Sunday in Long Island. So shout out to the 7 Long Island fans that got to watch that. And if you paid money to be there, you got your money's worth. Because let me tell you, the price of those tickets, I was not going there to watch Ovi. I was not going there to watch the Islanders. If Ovi didn't score, I feel like that would have been maximum pain. So I'm glad he got that done in the second period. It was definitely weird watching a 20-minute tribute midway of a game. Not that helped any of the teams. It certainly didn't help the Capitals because they went on to not play well. But it was good to see. It was great to see it also in vintage Ovi, which was, on the power play in his office, just
streaking down, blasting the one-timer.
Or Ilya Sorokin, man. He almost did it, and then he didn't. So no, it was good for him. It's great for hockey. And like you said, Wayne's got so many records. I get losing this one, it was a big deal, but it was also great to be able to watch Ovi from the time he was drafted till where he is now. And he needs to donate his body to science long after he's gone so we can understand how to replicate that man, because that is what peak performance looks like. If you're trying to find what peak athleticism is, it's whatever Alex Ovechkin is doing.
Isn't that a Subway sandwiches and Cheetos, if I recall
Subway
correctly?
and Cheetos, man. I don't know how he doesn't have a Subway deal yet, but that just look. Sure, you can go out and eat chicken, rice, and broccoli, but why would you do that when the greatest scorer in NHL history indulges on a 6-inch sub with hot Cheetos?
And just to confirm that it works, the guy breaks his leg around Thanksgiving, is back a little less than 6 weeks later from a broken leg. So it's not, the body's clearly knows how to run on Subway sandwiches and flaming hot Cheetos. How they haven't made a commercial when he did that celebration where he was cooling off the stick, somehow make that with a flaming hot Cheeto. Come on. Where are you, Chester Cheetah? Get on it.
Before I get to my question for you guys about OV, this is a big thing for Islanders fans to get to watch this, because Lou Lamoriello has not put together a team worth watching this season. And not only did they get the great one in Long Island, they got to see history with Ovi. So, kudos to those fans that got to enjoy that, because, ownership has really not put together a team worth watching this season. But my Ovechkin question for you guys is probably the question that everybody has to answer at some point. Where does he rank now among the greats in the NHL?
Just one more shout out and kudos to the Islanders fans, because we do crap on them a lot here, but nonetheless, they absolutely embraced the moment. They just, everything was handled perfectly by them. And let's face it, hockey fans know, hey, this is history here. It doesn't matter that this is a team that we used to see in the playoffs all the time, could be considered a rival. No. Sometimes things supersede that. And let's face it, it's not like the Islanders are really going to the playoffs at that point anyway, and they're not. So kudos to them. I would say, in terms of pure goal scoring, he's second to none. He is the best pure goal scorer of all time. And the fact that he's also third in hits all time also just speaks to his uniqueness and his just overall freakishness. If you were going to make a Mount Rushmore, you'd have to have Gretzky, you'd have to have Orr. I think you have to have Lemieux, and then it's tough because it's Ovechkin or Crosby. Because yes, pure goal scorer, all-time franchise, all-time goal scoring record holder, but Crosby
does Connor McDavid supersede them at some point?
No, Connor McDavid does not have his name on a Stanley Cup. So as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't get to be in that class yet. And that's not a knock on him. I'm not pooping on Connor McDavid, but if we're building a Mount Rushmore, the greatest hockey players of all time, one of the unique common threads is they all have Stanley Cups.
Yeah, he goes down as, he's the greatest goal scorer in NHL history. There's no debating that anymore. And in the era in which he did it as well, let's not forget, he had to go through 2 lockouts, right? He went through COVID as well, but like you said, not only is this his scoring, but he throws his weight around. Every year he averages over 100 hits a season. He's pounding the back of the net. That's a wear and tear on your body. And the fact that he is outside of breaking his leg, like he was one of the most consistent players on the ice. He didn't want to go to an all-star game, but he was there every time, games mattered. So it's just the wear and tear on that body, and for him to still be able to do what he did, like even towards the end of his career now, like Gretzky did most of his damage during his prime, and then by the end, started to taper off. Ovechkin has scored 40 and he's 39. Like he's not slowing down. That's the thing. And I know at some point he will. He has no choice. But like, to me, in terms of goal scorer, he's definitely there. I agree with you, Adam. Arguing as the best overall player, like, it's kind of hard. But the number one thing in hockey is to score goals. And Ovechkin does that better than any other player on the planet.
And just to put a bow on that, the other thing that's impressive too, this is not a guy that's clearly just playing out the string to try and get the record. He comes back from a broken leg and was scoring he came back determined. He one of his better scoring clips in recent seasons. I mean, just yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see how how this now that that's off the table. Let's see how the Capitals focus on just not falling victim to what could be a President's Trophy curse. I mean, we'll see what happens with Winnipeg or Washington there, but
kudos to them though. Kudos to Washington for this entire year that has gone down. They sneaked into the playoffs last year because nobody really wanted that final spot. They got knocked out in the first round. No one thought they were going to be anything this year. They had a good offseason. They've had a great year. And on top of that, Ovechkin breaks the record in this season. What a season for the Capitals.
And hopefully, I'm not that I'm rooting for them, but we'll see what happens in the playoffs, right? They're probably going to play Montreal in the first round. Get to that later or in a future episode. Plenty to get to here today. Just want to mention the Frozen Four, one of my favorite sporting events of the year. Currently underway. We got Denver and Western Michigan. They just started the first period a few minutes ago. They're scoreless. Later on, we'll have Penn State and BU that are kicking off or dropping the puck, I should say, at I believe 8:30 Eastern time. The championship and the Hobie Baker Award coming out on Saturday. I know we don't do a lot of college hockey here, but this is some of the best hockey you'll watch. The NCAA hockey tournament, and they're smart. They avoid Final Four weekend, so they do round the 16 and 8 week before the NBA, the college basketball Final Four, and then they do their Final Four after that. So got ESPN too, throw it on. Not at the expense of watching this though. And then let's go through some quick hits here. And based on Jordan Binnington's actions last night, things are truly heating up in every aspect for the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't blame Binnington for snapping at that one. I mean, maybe he took it a little over the edge, a little too far, but got to defend your crease. We got some playoff positioning for those first round matchups on the line. That's the only thing I could really say as we get into the the playoff scenarios here. Is there's not much to really be played for in terms of teams getting in. A lot of positioning battles, but we kind of know the fields at this point. But let's go. Let's just recap the last couple of days here. You saw Vancouver with a historic 3-goal and under a minute comeback and went on to win in overtime. Staved off playoff elimination for a whole 24 hours before it happened. Once the Blues, Wild, and Flames all got points last night. And speaking of the Calgary Flames, who desperately needed every point they can get, their third period collapse to Anaheim last night. Inexcusable. The Ducks are a team I kind of like for next year, but save that for another time. Calgary, Minnesota tomorrow night. Minnesota wins. They pretty much kick Calgary out of the playoffs. Calgary has to win that game to stay alive. More importantly, though, Connor McDavid, Kirill Kaprizov, and Joel Eriksson-Ek all returned to their lineups last night, all having an impact. So it was nice to see McDavid back on the ice, assists on the OT game winner. And Joel Eriksson-Ek, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 goals in his return in a wild one against the Sharks, 8-7. Kirill Kaprizov also contributing there. Talking about the Minnesota Wild for a minute, at full health, if you're the Vegas Golden Knights or the Winnipeg Jets, is this a team that potentially puts a little bit of worry into you now if they're ready to rock?
Definitely a better team with Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson-Ek in there. I get that it's the San Jose Sharks, and it's easy to pound on them, but that was still a very dominant force, dominant performance from arguably some of the league's best players there. So once those guys settle in, then it gives, you have your secondary threat with Matt, Boldy, who can find the back of the net. Matt Zuccarello's been a good ad again. Their defense is still very, you see what you're going to get out of it. I hope their goaltending is probably Gustafsson leading the way. but they are a better team. I don't know if they're a legitimate threat though to some of the elites like Vegas and Winnipeg, and even in their own division with Colorado and Dallas. They're not at the same clip as those teams. They are good, but I don't think they're in the same brackets.
They're a playoff team, but that's all they are.
I don't know if they like Chris says, I don't know if they pose that huge threat, but they'll definitely give, at the very least to me, Winnipeg a good series, because we still don't know what Winnipeg is in the playoffs, right? We thought that they were going to be really good last year, and they go out in the first round. You play a Minnesota team that's, skating into the playoffs here at the end, and that's a tough series for them. Vegas, they're more seasoned. We always see Vegas go a little bit deeper into the playoffs, so I don't think that they would pose too much of a threat to them, but I would be concerned about Winnipeg, even though Winnipeg is the best team right now.
And Winnipeg, Minnesota, that's a rivalry factor there as well. So something to keep in mind. That would be fun to see those two face off in a playoff series. Let's head to you mentioned Colorado there. Nate McKinnon might miss the rest of the regular season due to a minor injury. This is why you have your fantasy hockey championships last week, because Nate McKinnon is a top 2 pick in most drafts, top 3 maybe at worst. And now if your fantasy hockey championship is going into this week or even next week, you just lost one of your best players if you got that far. So that's a perfect example why you don't have the championship carryover this week. But the good news for Colorado, Gabriel Landeskog has been lent to their AHL affiliate over in Loveland, Colorado. So he's skating again. And man, we talk about at this point, if Dallas needs to basically win tonight to try and keep the Central Division championship within their grasp. Winnipeg can't clinch with the win, but they can really put themselves in the driver's seat if they win tonight. If we get that Dallas-Colorado first round and Landeskog comes back, the best series of the playoffs might be in the first round.
Yeah, the usual, we can't have nice things because Gary doesn't want to go 1-8. So instead we get Colorado and Dallas, two teams that could probably win a Stanley Cup, and they get to face each other in the first round. So the addition of Gabriel Landeskog, I don't know what player he's going to be. He hasn't played since 2022. What is he even? But I think just the mental win for him and that whole team to have their captain back, and just maybe not on the same level that it was for Steven Stamkos when he came back, played in the playoffs. I mean, he played one shift, he scored a goal, and it was just, you could see how that got the Tampa Bay Lightning just rolling. So, I mean, it would be great. I don't think there's anything too wrong with Nathan McKinnon wanting to set. Colorado is probably in that third spot. That's where they're going to be. Might as well give Nate all the rest you can give him to make sure that his body is ready to go come, puck drop of the playoffs. There's no reason to keep rolling him out there for no reason, playing him 24 minutes a night. So I am interested to see what Gabriel Landeskog does in the AHL. I just want to see how he plays. He's gone to practice. He's looked good. We haven't really had any updates about his knee. We know how many times he's, the procedure's ever been done, and nobody's ever had really a ton of success with doing it. But, let's see what role he can play. And even if he has to play a bottom 6 role, it's still better than not having him on that team. So I do think that'll be a great series. That'll be the series I probably tune into, would be Colorado and Dallas, just because of the sheer amount of skill on the ice.
We can still have a bracket and do 1 through 8. You just don't reseed, kind of like the way the NBA used to do it. They go 1 through 8, and then it was a bracket. So that's your best of both worlds. That's what the NHL needs to do. You don't want to do reseeding because you have to market your bracket challenges. I get it, but this format just there are years where if you rank the teams in the proper 1 through 8, it ends up pretty much being about the same. 6 out of the 8 matchups end up being, but this is when that format, and I can hear Milo is just super angry about, Dallas. On one hand, he's going to get great hockey, but you want that series to be in, early to mid-May. You don't want that series in April. There's that's a series I want to watch as a standalone, not where there's 2 other games going. So
he's very annoyed at the squirrels and all the other animals now that are coming out in the spring. They're looking for their nuts, and he is, he's got good defensive skills, right? He's definitely willing to protect his territory. He's more of like a stay-at-home defenseman, but with just like Connor McDavid speed kind of thing, which I know doesn't make sense, but
Bulldog mentality.
right. He's out there protecting the paint kind of thing. Like you're not. That's probably what Jordan Binnington would have wanted, somebody to protect his paint. But yeah, if you're a squirrel or if you're just like a human walking by, like you should probably not do that because that's not okay.
Unacceptable behavior by somebody having the nerve to just go about their business in their day in Milo's presence. He didn't approve of that walk by. My dog does the same thing. It's like the same people that he would be slobbering and loving all over. He's barking like F you at them from across the street. You know, it's like you can't have it both ways, Ferdinand. Anyway, let's see. We've been talking a little playoffs here. Why don't we get a little updated playoff scenarios here? So this is what we're looking at going into tonight's games. So here it is. And you see those grayed out teams with Calgary and then the 4 teams on the eastern half. They're all still alive, but let's be real here. Nobody thinks the Rangers, Blue Jackets, or Islanders, and you know what, even the Red Wings at this point are going to make any sort of run at Montreal here. Not trying to jinx the Habs, but they would really have to have, I mean, we haven't even touched on the fact that Ivan Demidov is coming over. I'm going to give Chris the floor for that in a little bit. But nonetheless, you see the scenarios there. In the East, Washington, Montreal, Carolina, the Devils, that's all locked up. We'll get to that in a minute. Toronto, Ottawa, Tampa, Florida. Last time we did this, Florida had the home ice, but now it's Tampa. Out west, it would be Winnipeg, St. Louis, Dallas, Colorado, like we just talked about, Vegas, Minnesota, and the Kings and the Oilers. There are some playoff clinching scenarios tonight for various teams in terms of positioning. So and you've been seeing them scroll across the bottom. So we'll go through those as we talk about those teams. But let's start with the Capitals and the Canadiens here. They'll clinch the number 1 seed in the East tonight if they defeat the Hurricanes in any fashion. The Hurricanes clinched the number 2 seed in home ice in the first round against the Devils if they get 1 point at least tonight. So we'll talk Devils, Hurricanes in a minute, but you picked the Canadiens to upset the Capitals when we talked about this 2 weeks ago. And that was before we knew for sure when Demidov was coming over. I saw the video with the jersey being made. Like, it's got to be tough to not get excited. You're muted, my friend.
That makes sense. He is going to wear 93. A lot of people thought he was wearing 91, but that will not be the case. He is on a flight currently that left Istanbul earlier this morning. He should arrive. He's going to arrive in Toronto at around 7:10, 7:15. Very smart of management to not let him come through the Montreal International Airport, because that would have been an absolute paparazzi scene. So smart of them to be like, hey, we'll send the kid here. He's got to get some of his U.S. paperwork done, his visa and stuff like that. So it probably, that's the main reason, but also it probably made sense to make sure he can get a good night's sleep tonight.
I thought you were picking him up.
Yeah, that's what
listen. I was ready. I would have picked him up in Turkey. Like, if you would have, you know what I mean? Like, I was ready. When I look, nobody thought he was going to show up this year because of how SKA St. Petersburg was just an absolute weeder of a franchise, not wanting to let him go. And then I guess they had a change of heart. And maybe they're like, hey, he wanted to be here. He spoke about how, he wanted to, play in the NHL. He wanted to play against Alexander Ovechkin, which makes sense. They're 2 Russian players. There's a good chance Montreal plays, the Capitals in the first round. Maybe he pulled on the Russian strings over there, and they finally released it from his contract. You knew that he was going to sign his entry-level deal. It was just a question of, getting pen to paper, and then it was getting him on a plane as quickly as he could to get out of that country, and hopefully he never goes back. So, he is a dynamic player. If you haven't seen the highlights, you live under a rock, even if you don't care about Montreal hockey. But he brings a different level of hockey that the Montreal Canadiens have not had in a long time, and that is a pure offensive, skilled player that can do so many different things. Cole Caulfield is skilled. He can score goals. We've seen it. But Demidov has all this power as well. He's a bigger boy as well. I'm excited that it looks like he's going to play Monday in Montreal against Chicago. Chicago is in town. I think that game's on Prime as well. So I'm absolutely bricked for it. But yes, this is a fantastic matchup. There is still an outside chance that the Montreal Canadiens can get past the Ottawa Senators for the first wild card spot. That would give them a date with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there's one thing I love more than beating the Washington Capitals in the first round. It's sending the Toronto Maple Leafs packing in the spring. So I don't care which one it is. The Montreal Canadiens are an absolute wagon right now. Now, the last couple of games have been tricky because when you get heavily outshot and you still win, that's a lot, right? They don't ask you how in hockey. They ask you how many, but I'm sure coaches are also asking like how. So there are things there that probably need to be changed, but just the infusion of skill. Montreal gets another player in their top 6. Their third line has been really good. It's kind of solidifying everything here. We've been waiting for a moment for this to start to look like a team that can be dangerous. We're knocking on the door here. It's right there.
What I like about this plan with Demidov is if they're going to have him play against the Blackhawks Monday night, that's a good first game, ease yourself in opponent. Then you have Carolina at home. There you go. Here's a playoff team that you might see again. Good little get Demidov, a little bit of a taste of what playoff hockey is going to be like here, and then away we go. So I'll look forward to watching him and Line play pitch and catch on a power play. Having those two guys out there, that's going to be pretty nice to watch.
Yes. No, those two are, it's exciting. That's what I would say. It's exciting. And sometimes it rejuvenates the whole team. Just getting a kid who just, he wants to be here. He wants to play. He wants to go up against the best. He played in a league with men as a child. And again, his team did him no favors. I never want to hear whatever that SKA St. Petersburg coaches ever again. If he enters this country, I want him detained and deported immediately for how he treated Demigod. So I just want him out of here. But it is definitely an exciting time because I didn't think it was going to happen. And then, then it broke. And I was like, okay. It's kind of like the Michael Scott me where it's like, oh my God, it's happening. That was it. It was happening.
Well, it's going to add an interesting dynamic, and if I'm the, Spencer Carberry, that's something to keep an eye on, as that's the likely first-round opponent. I know they could still catch Ottawa, but Ottawa, I think, will be fine.
The last time a rookie joined the Montreal Canadiens just before a playoff run was Cole Caulfield during the COVID era. We can remind the Toronto Maple Leafs how that went and how far the Montreal Canadiens got. Like, I'm not saying it's going there. I'm just saying that's the last time an impact rookie showed up just before the playoffs. That turned out pretty well. So maybe history repeats itself.
Shall see. Now, we talked some playoff scenarios. We got one in the books now, and it's ready to rock. And it looks like, Carolina should have home ice here, barring anything crazy. And there it is. And when you look at those results, I mean, that just tells you throw the regular season out the window because, all these games happened before we changed calendars. This is with you have a healthy Jack Hughes in a lot of these games. That is no longer the case anymore. Carolina also looks very different now. I don't want to say very different, but definitely a different team than they looked in October, November, and December. Home team takes all games there. Seems like 4-2 is going to be the common score when these two get together. And there you see the series odds. Makes a whole lot of sense. Carolina minus 245. The Devils plus 200. And one thing I will say, and I know we've kind of had this, sentiment about, well, it's, Carolina's going to win. The Devils have no Hughes or all that stuff. The one area that the Devils absolutely have an edge on the Hurricanes is goaltending. And what is the age-old saying? Goaltending can steal a series. Goaltending, Markstrom's gets a shutout and plays on his head for another 2 games. Carolina, not a huge offensive team. So, listen, I'm not picking the Devils, not yet at least. Maybe we'll see what happens come this time next week. Maybe, I talk myself into it more. I'm just saying this may not be like a Carolina in 5. I think this one could go at least 6 because they do have, fragile Freddie Anderson. Kochetkov has looked awful the last couple of months here for Carolina. So that is an area that the Devils have an advantage. So, it's not something to just totally disregard.
I think you have it start here that the home team has won all the games, and that plays a big part in this thing. And if Carolina does get home field advantage, they are going to be probably the favorites here. I think I read somewhere today that Dougie Hamilton and Jonas Siegenthaler were seen skating. I don't know if they're going to be ready to go by the time this playoffs start. That would be a huge boost for the Devils. We know Jack Hughes is not going to be playing. He's out for the season, which is when we talked about fantasy drafts, and I said I would not draft Hughes this season because of injury. Here we go again. Another Jack Hughes injury. And I hope this is not something that happens for the rest of his career. I hope he beefs up a little bit. But him not being on this team doesn't help when it comes to scoring, but they have gotten the best season of Nico Hischier, the captain's career so far. But I don't know. Right now, I think it's Carolina's series to lose.
Gun to my head, I'm picking the Hurricanes right now, but the Markstrom factor is something to think about.
It is. It definitely is. But I'll say this, and I think Chris talked about it during the offseason when they got Markstrom, that the Devils have no excuses. And to be honest, I don't know if I've been as impressed with that tandem as I thought I would be. I thought they would be a whole lot better than what they've shown. They've been good, but I thought it'd be a whole lot better considering, the team that they had assembled.
Yeah, just be honest here. I could not care less about this series. There's so many great series to watch. And it's not because the Devils are not good. It's not because the Carolina Hurricanes are not good. This is going to be I believe it's going to be a low scoring series. So you should just hammer the under. Just keep hammering it. I think some of these games will open at like a 5 total because it's like, and it's fine. The Devils are banged up. And yes, Markstrom is a great goalie. He's played well. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes as a team are good enough to solidify whatever Freddie Anderson can give you. I think Frederik Andersen starts it. He's been good when healthy. The only question is, how long is his body going to hold up for? But I mean, these are two teams that are going to play chess with each other. That they're going to be so well defensive. They're not going to give you an edge on either side. It's probably going to be one of those greasy goals where it's a tip in or something. I could see these games just being a grind you down effort, and it's not because there's not a lot of skill, but it's because this is how both teams have to play to be successful. So I'll watch it because I'm a degenerate, but I have no excitement. I'm not sitting on my couch going, man, I got to watch the Devils and the Hurricanes tonight.
No, I agree. Of all the 8 first-round series, because it's not going to be – all the ones in the West are going to have some intrigue. Capitals, Montreal, we've talked about.
Blues, Winnipeg? More than Devils, Carolina? Really?
Because the Blues are coming in pretty hot. Winnipeg's the top overall seed. We all know the story about Hellebuck. Fantastic in the regular season. Hasn't gotten deep in the playoffs. I don't think St. Louis could beat Winnipeg, but I think they could absolutely make the Jets sweat that series out. I think, in terms of, sex appeal, we'll call it, Hurricanes, Devils is definitely going to be 8 out of 8 of the first round series. But yeah, just to your point, taking the under in every game in that series, or at least going in with that strategy. If they had set a total at 6 on most of these games, you would have got to push most of the year. So I agree. 5.5 is probably going to be where it lands, but yeah, I would not be surprised to see a 5 total in that series. So that's only going to be one. Now, hope by this time next Thursday is the last day of the NHL regular season. So let's hope we have some more series locked in by then. I think we will. But we'll get to as many as we can before the playoffs start here in about a week and a half. Now, fantasy-wise, I said you shouldn't be playing this week because of the whole Landeskog thing. If you have the choice, you get it done. But nonetheless, there's still plenty of leagues. I'm in a big money league where we're going all the way through to next Thursday. I got 2 other leagues, non-money leagues, that we're going through at least till Sunday. So, again, like last week, we tried to help you with targeting some teams that might get you more bang for your buck here in the coming days. Let's face it, you only got a certain amount of weight. If you have a cap on transactions, you got to use them wisely, looking at games and all that. So let's take a look at first of all, if your championship is ending on Sunday this week, let's take a look at that. So that Friday, Sunday, that's a big stagger there because you get everybody in the lineup on Friday and you get everybody on Sunday. I will say this week in particular, Thursday and Saturday were not as heavy as they normally are, where sometimes you got to decide who you're sitting. So not as big a deal as last week, but these are ways to maximize your lineup there. You see the Senators, Lightning, Oilers, Flames, Sharks, Devils, and Penguins have the Friday-Sunday combo. If your championship's ending Sunday, teams that have 2 games Saturday and Sunday, Carolina, Buffalo, Minnesota, Colorado, Columbus, Toronto, Winnipeg, the Capitals, the Islanders, and the so there we go. Any games or particular or players that you're looking at here in the final weekend that to maybe target or add for a specific category?
I mean, I think the Minnesota game is interesting. I got caught yesterday. So Marc-Andre Fleury played against San Jose. So I picked up Fleury because I'm in one of those leagues as well. We know how that went. But Minnesota actually plays the Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I think they play the Friday and the Saturday. So back-to-back Calgary and Vancouver. I have to expect Fleury's going to get a start somewhere in there. They gave him the start at home, which is probably his final start in his career at home. So I understand that. They're going to give – I don't see them playing Gustafsson back-to-back just to make him happy. Like, I can't see that being a thing. So I think Fleury gets another start. I think he'll be a little bit better. Like, if you played him yesterday, the thought process was right, and we are going down the rabbit hole together. So – I mean, it is what it is. For goalie, I'm targeting, if I need goalies, I'm targeting guys who can, who are going to play. And as we get closer to the end of the year, some of those teams that don't have anything to play for are going to be rolling out their backup goalies. So go down the list of goalies who, like Casey DeSmith kind of thing, right? Dallas has a couple of games there. Any team that's sitting on like 4 or 5 games left, like assume the backup's going to play 2 of them, especially if they're a playoff team. So, and if there's, your hope is that there is something to play for, it's unlikely that that will be the case. So what's more likely to happen here, the Montreal Canadiens wrap up a playoff spot, everybody else gets eliminated. Now at least you have your playoff performers, you have your teams that are not going to perform. That is going to be a question of seeing, hey, what do lines look like every day? Now it's kind of that small little push until the end. The Pittsburgh Penguins have a mass amount of players who are not going to play or are done for the year. So it's just going into that and seeing, is anybody getting any power play time? Is anybody playing next to Sidney Crosby? Is anybody playing in the top 6? And then just take it. You should not finish your year with any waiver wire ads remaining. If you're in a daily league where you can pick up a player daily, if your league allows you to pick up 4, you've used all 4 by the end of your league. Or if it's 6, if you have fab budget, I don't care what it is. You're not rolling over your fab to next year. This isn't a 401k. You burn it all if you haven't already. The same thing with the waiver moves. You don't get them next year, right? It's kind of like coaches that don't use their timeout. Like, you don't keep it. So use it or you lose it. Literally, you could lose your league if you're sitting and doing nothing.
One other thing to add to that in terms of strategy, you want to use your ad drops and your slots. It's tempting to just kind of save them all till late in the week and then you try to chase categories. But the league I referred to earlier, where we're going through next Thursday, it's usually 5 per week. We got 8 because of that extension. I've already used 5 of them because some of these ads you want to try and maximize, like we talk about. You're trying to maximize how many games you get out of these guys. Sometimes if you wait and you're like, all right, I got 7 ad drops left to use over the last 2 days of the season, some categories might be too far out of the barn for you to catch, or you're really just taking dart throws and grabbing somebody's third pairing defenseman because they, show a tendency to get blocks more than others. And it's just, there's a balance of save a few bullets in the chamber for those last couple of days to try and maybe either lock up a category you got a lead where it's a little close, or maybe you're chasing a category where it's still attainable, but you save a couple of those, but you should start using some of those now. Don't save all the transactions till the end because that rarely works out for you. If there's one category you need and you want to just take everybody and go towards that category, that's different. But if you're really trying to chase multiple ones, you got to start now.
Pick one that you need. You know what your league's going to come down to. Most leagues that are playing at this point are going to go all the way until next Thursday. Like, they're going to play out the entire week. So for example, next week, the Edmonton Oilers have only 2 games. One of them is they play the Los Angeles Kings. Don't worry, though. The Kings are on the road. That's not good for them. They also play San Jose in San Jose. Not that matters because the San Jose Sharks are not very good. So if by some miracle Calvin Pickard is still sitting on your wait, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Stuart Skinner. You're better off placing a waiver wire ad now if Pickard is there, or Olivier Rodrigue. He's going to start one of them. I don't think they roll Pickard all the way just in case they need him to start game 1 of the playoffs. So you're not taking any risks at this point. If these teams have nothing to play for, right, you're trying to get ahead here. Not everything that you're going to do is going to hit, but if you're ahead of the curve, right, then you're at least your opponent is not grabbing him. And that's sometimes the most important thing. It's not about what you do, right? It's always about what you do. Yes. But it's also making sure that your opponent doesn't do something to hurt you. So even if you grab a player In the end, you say, no, he's not going to start. Fine. Doesn't matter. You drop him, goes through his waiver process. You're making sure the next guy's not picking up. You want to call it shady, call it shady. But look, at this point of the year, we got to do what we got to do.
I don't think it's shady at all if you want to use those transactions like you were talking about the other way. Or like, oh, this guy needs to catch me in blocks. I'm going to go get the top blocking defenseman and take him off. I may not even play him tonight, but I just don't want him using him. So there's that strategy that it's trying to balance helping yourself and, trying to screw the other guy a little bit too. Hey, like it's not unsavory. It's not wrong. It's just strategy. It's not wrong if you've got a lead in goalie categories. I don't care if it's Vasilevsky going against Nashville. If I got locked up, I'm not playing him. Maybe if I'm trying to get that shutout category, but like there are times where you don't do things. So it's all about strategy here. And if your championship league is going through the week, I'm not going to go through all the schedules here because it's just like impossible. Not impossible, but too time consuming. But gave you some teams to avoid with the Bruins and the Avalanche because the Bruins have only 2 games left. And let's face it, the Bruins are just a dumpster fire right now. Colorado already talked about they're going to, probably sit McKinnon the rest of the year. They don't have a lot of games left. St. Louis and Seattle also kind of wrap up their seasons a little bit earlier. And then you see down there teams that could reduce minutes for top players there. We already know the Capitals are pretty much can lock it up. They'll probably rest some guys down the stretch. Same thing for Carolina Devils out west. Once Winnipeg, if Dallas wins tonight, that changes things because now that race is a little bit closer in the Central. But if Winnipeg wins tonight over Dallas, they could see them reducing minutes for top players. And Vegas too. They're not that far away from clinching the division. They're another team that's capable of resting. And a couple of guys teams I don't even put on there. If the Kings lock up the 2 seed, okay, they might be a team that rests people down the stretch too. So these are things to keep an eye on as we move along here in the coming days and weeks. Marek asked in the chat, how are you guys doing in your remaining leagues? I'm up 10-7 in one final. Then in another one, it's a points one. I'm up 70.15 to 54.5. The big money league, I'm down 10-5-2 right now to Davey Roberts. He's one of those guys where the rest of the league is rooting for me because they don't want him to win. And including, we're not going to get into politics, but there are some Canadians in that league that are rooting for an American over a fellow Canadian, just to give you an idea of the guy is beloved, but the guy, he's fun to root against. So I'm trying to not let him beat me for the second time in 3 years. I've made some moves tonight that should close the gap in some of those categories, but it is Thursday night. We'll assess the how the smoke clears tomorrow on Friday in that one. How about you? I know you're in the FSGA championship and yours, Chris. I lost to Chris Wassel in the semis in mine. So that was a tough one. Yes,
I am in the FSGH. The fantasy alarm is being well represented this year because I am facing off against John and Pemba. So this could be a 2-for-1. Nothing like beating John and having the Bruins be eliminated. So that would be kind of good. I got a good lead to start with here. I need a little bit more to happen because, like you said, it's just Thursday. That league runs until next Thursday as well. So now it's just making sure, I got the lead. I got to, get everything done there. In another league with, a lot of, friends that I have and stuff, I got a slight category lead here, 6-5. Again, it's one of those things now where I'm just trying to see, which categories do I have a true chance of winning? Which ones am I nowhere near close to? Maybe try to go out and get some guys. This league uses penalty minutes, and I hate penalty minutes because how am I supposed to predict who's going to get a 5 and a 10 misconduct, right? Like, it's one of those things. But, I'm rolling AJ Greer tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I need Greer to just go off, maybe punch somebody in the face, get kicked out. I think they were mentioning it as like Jordan Binnington has like 52 penalty minutes or something. I don't know if it's this season, but like that's the type of player I need. I wish a goalie could, his penalty minutes stats would count because that would be where Jordan Binnington would be the most effective.
I was going to say you need a modern day Billy Smith.
I need, I loved how Jordan Binnington just absolutely clocking Corey Perry. Like it's Perry. He probably deserved it, and he did. And it's nice to see Jordan Binnington still has that fire. In another league, it's a points league. I wrapped this up. I mean, basically a couple of weeks ago. I've been ahead the whole time. So that one's just now we're just mailing it in towards the end here. We're just we're well ahead there. Now we're just shaking hands and telling people how great I did. So far so good. but like I need to wrap this up here. I need to, especially the FSGH league. I think there's only one Canadian. No, Bruno's in there, so there's more than one of us. But I need to make sure that I get there.
Yeah, I was disappointed to not get there in the other FSGA league, but next year, maybe it happens next year. But hey, it's two years in a row, second round flame out for me in that one. If I can come back and take this big money league that I'm currently trailing, that'll make up.
That's very Carolina Hurricanes of you. Get to the second round and then just bow out.
I mean, maybe I'll name my team that next year if that happens. That's something to consider. So there we go, a little fantasy talk. Now let's get to the 10-game Thursday slate. That's we finish off our Thursday editions, but there's only a couple more Thursdays here where we could do this before we hit the playoffs. And first game up for tonight. Let's take a look here what we got on the docket. For me, and this, Chris, you're probably going to go a little crazy on me here, but stick with me. I'm taking the Sabres money line at Columbus tonight, which Buffalo have won 5 in a row, 8 of their last 9, a lot of overs in that stretch too if you got to lean on a total. Columbus is still alive, but let's face it, they're done. And I think they put up a little bit of a fight tonight against Buffalo, but they've lost 3 of 4. I know they're better on home ice, and I can't believe I'm saying this at any point this season, but if there was a point, take a shot on the Sabres. They're playing loose and free, pressure-free hockey right now. They're just going out trying to close on a bang. They've moved well up in the Eastern Conference standing in the basement, but they're in the higher part. They're up in the rafters of the basement now. They're not down in where like the flood is. So Columbus hasn't done enough for me lately. Buffalo's rolling. I think it's okay to take a shot on the money line here with the Sabres, and I'll probably never say that again.
I am not. I can't stress this enough. The Buffalo Sabres are a terrible hockey team. And I don't care what, the Buffalo Sabres are so bad, they can't even figure out losing at the right time of the year. Like, why are you winning 5-6 in a row now? You guys were garbage all year. Now you're taking yourself out of a lottery pick. This team is so bad at everything. They can't even get losing right. So no, I'm not taking. The Blue Jackets are the better team on home ice. Look, numbers are numbers here. I'm not taking the small sample size of the Buffalo Sabres pretending to be good here. Probably the over, though. That's probably where it's going to end up. Elvis Merzlikins is not playing. I think Tarasov's going to start. He is Terra horrible. So it's just probably the over is the good. But taking the Buffalo Sabres in April to win, man, that's a choice.
So the over 6.5 minus 120, and it's James Reimer going for the Sabres tonight. So there you go. I mean, if there was ever a game to take an over, and not confirmed for Tarasov yet, but more than likely going to be him. So Blackhawks Bruins, I wouldn't bet this game with your money or Anthony's money. I am not touching this one.
Nah, good.
Yeah. Like, it's just Boston's atrocious. Chicago has been up and down. They're still bad too. This is one of those games where it could be over in just a hair over 2 hours because the guys are just trying to get home or get on the plane to the next game. Or it could be like 7-6 because nobody's going to play defense. Either way, I've got no leans. I've got nothing on this one.
Every time I see the Bruins, I just want to give Chris more flowers for calling this. I can't believe the biggest drop that this Bruins team, that they're worse than the Buffalo Sabres. But man, this team is terrible. Kudos to you, Chris, for calling this whole thing out years in advance. This guy's like a soothsayer, man.
I know. If only I could do the same thing with predicting 6 numbers out of 49 balls, then I'd be great. But it's been an absolute collapse. And lost in all this Bruins season as well, David Pastrnak put up 100 points. Another just fantastic year from Pasta. And we don't even get to talk about it. And he doesn't even get to be considered in any conversation for the Hart because the Boston Bruins are so miserable of a franchise. Now, look, am I crying for the Boston Bruins? Absolutely not. Not a single tear has been shed. I'm not crying for them. So sit home. I don't know. Are the Celtics relevant? Watch that.
Yes.
Okay. So watch that.
They are very relevant.
There you go. Something to cheer for at the
East.
Something to cheer for at the Garden. And the Red Sox have just started. So you know what I mean? There's other things to do, but you just want to forget this season even existed for the Bruins. Don't forget, they fired Jim Montgomery. He went over to St. Louis. And now the St. Louis Blues are in a position to make the playoffs, and the Bruins got exceptionally worse. So I don't know how this ownership doesn't fire everybody in the front office, but I mean, I don't know what we're waiting for anymore. This team is terrible, and they're not looking any better.
I wonder if Swayman regrets his extension.
I mean,
No
the
one-
season never got off on the right foot because of the way that was handled.
Yeah.
That was the. I don't want to say that was the nail in the coffin, but it may as well have been.
That's how it started. They couldn't agree on it. You had everybody behind the press just, saying stuff that they shouldn't have been saying. And then he finally got in. This team never got into a rhythm. They signed Zadorov to money he shouldn't have gotten. Elias Lindholm to money he shouldn't have gotten. They traded Brad Marchand away when he wanted to stay. When they were like, I don't know, $500,000 off, and they couldn't come to a deal. This whole franchise can just they deserve it. I don't feel bad for them. Hit the links.
Now, I'll say this, though. You were criticizing Buffalo that they don't know how to lose right because now they're destroying their lottery chances while Boston is sliding in easy right into I mean, they're not going to catch, the odds of the Sharks, Blackhawks, and Predators, but they can easily be that fourth team because Philly's playing better now that Tortorella's gone. Seattle has actually sneakily got a couple of wins lately. Pittsburgh kind of, a couple of weeks ago, they were playing better and moved themselves up. Anaheim and Buffalo also playing better. So Boston could easily have the fourth best lottery odds at this point, and that's probably what they're going for there. So
they might sneak away and get that top pick like the Blackhawks did for Bedard that year that they probably should not have gotten it.
No, they don't deserve that.
Oh, I mean, maybe karma's coming up now because, I mean, they really, you look again, we'll go into the offseason, but you look at the Sharks, even though they're losing a ton, Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini are probably going to be fourth and fifth in terms of rookie of the year voting at this, or third and fourth maybe. Whereas, yes, Chicago, Bedard won rookie of the year last year, but they don't have anybody on that team, at least right now, that's going to be ready to start taking steps. And we'll see how the offseason goes in Chicago. But nonetheless, Blackhawks, Bruins, nobody's touching that one. Chris is going to think I'm crazy again because I like the Red Wings on the money line here and the over 5.5 tonight. They're pretty much done after losing to Montreal the other night, but they had points in 3 straight games prior to that, which included wins over Florida and Carolina and an overtime loss to the Blues, who are red hot. I think we see like a last stand from Detroit tonight. And here's another thing, and I'm not one to really buy into conspiracy theories, but I've been hearing it floated out there that the Panthers are tanking to get Toronto in the first round. Now, if people can tank, if teams can tank to get a higher draft pick, and again, I'm not putting credence into that. But if you look at what the Panthers did the games before Toronto, they looked awful. Then they go and beat the Maple Leafs, no problem. They go back to their losing ways tonight, I might start giving that a little credence. So, I'm taking a shot with the Red Wings on the money line. Like I said, a last stand. And I think the over 5.5 plus 105. I like that considering the last time the game went under, they met recently. So I'm going to go over here. Starting goaltenders tonight for the squad. Let's take a look here. Cam Talbot, Sergei Bobrovsky. Am I going against Sergei Bobrovsky? Yes. But why not? This is the time of the year to take shots.
Oh, I know for a fact he's given up a lot of goals this season being on my team. So I wouldn't doubt it going over that 5.5. I'd put a little bit of money on that.
I'm actually going to take the Red Wings here. This was a better take than what the Buffalo Sabres were. So the Wings have actually won both previous games in this series. They've won at home, right? They did it a couple of nights ago. They did it on the 6th. Yeah, so earlier in the week, they won in Florida. That was a tight game, and the Red Wings are still mathematically possible to make the playoffs. So that gives them all the fake hope they need. But they played well against Montreal. If it wasn't for Sam Montembeault that first period, that game is 4-0. We don't even talk about it. They threw everything at the net. They just didn't score goals, which is very, apropos for this Detroit Red Wings team. But they came out with some pace here. I think the loss of Sam Bennett as well, that's a massive hole on your second line. Like, say what you want about Sam Bennett, but he provides that second line center position here. Barkov is back. Yes, it's good. Yes, that's going to help. But I'm just feeling like the Florida Panthers, like I said, they've been a little bit inconsistent here. Detroit's got a lot to play for. They're, they believe, I assume. So I'll lay a little bit on them at plus 178. I think that's too much love for the Panthers, considering just how this matchup has gone so far. That minus 200 is too much. So I think that's good value on the Wings.
And there's enough veteran presence in that locker room with the coaching and Todd McClellan and then Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko that they're not going to like let the Red Wings just kind of, just fade away. Like, we're still alive. Yeah, it doesn't look good with the way Montreal's playing, but they can take care of business, maybe get a little help. It's not over, but I think tonight they get it up for the Panthers, where the Panthers really don't have much to play for there. Yes, they're playing for positioning, but they just haven't good as late unless they're playing the Maple Leafs. So surprised to see me and Chris on the same one there. Hurricanes Capitals, probably one of the two big games of the night here. Get the popcorn out, see if there's any sort of retaliatory stuff from last week. Stay away spot for me here, because it's either going to be if they don't get into the extracurriculars, you could probably go under. If they get into the extracurriculars, now you're going to see a lot of power play time, so that could maybe push it over. I'm not. This was one I want to watch, but I'm not wagering.
That's a lot of love for Carolina on the road.
But
it's not enough to really trust the Capitals at home. I just don't like that Charlie Lindgren is starting. He hasn't been fantastic. He hasn't been terrible, but it's too much love for Carolina. Maybe just like a little sprinkle on the Capitals. Capitals are a home team. They've played well. They're the best. They're about to win, top spot in the Metro. Like, they've been good. So I just think that it plus 140 is a lot. And the Hurricanes are just not as deep. So a little sprinkle on the Hurricanes, but I agree with you. I'm not watching this one religiously.
Another stay away game that I wouldn't bet with either your money. Rangers Islanders. Rangers coming off a back-to-back loss on the Flyers last night. Excuse me. Islanders here. But again, both still alive. Not really. And again, Rangers Islanders, it should be entertaining because one can keep their season alive a little bit longer. One will probably, with this loss, if they're not eliminated, be eliminated shortly. Can't trust either of these teams. No idea if this is going to be high scoring, low scoring. I mean, looking at the goaltending matchup for tonight, the Rangers trotted out Jonathan Quick last night. So looking at Igor Shesterkin here, and Marcus Hogberg was the first skater off the ice for the Islanders today. So Ilya Sorokin, he's got an upper body injury. So if you want to go over here, just because neither of these teams are playing tight defense, Rangers had 13 goals involved in that game last night with the Flyers. I ain't touching this one.
Rangers also play better on the road here, but both of these teams know they're out of it. I mean, 79 points. They're tied. There's 4 teams tied with 79 points. Yeah, I don't see any of these teams making a run. Montreal's getting that final spot, and that's that.
Yeah, I would not want to watch this game. The Islanders are absolutely miserable. The Rangers it was absolutely a choice to sit Gabe Perreault and then go out there and trot. I don't know why you feel the need for Matt Rempe. And speaking of tinfoil hats, somebody in the comment section because I was like, that is definitely a choice. And somebody said that they would start, I don't know, Rempe and whatever other player was in the lineup over Trocheck, Lafreniere, and I was like, buddy, we are off the deep end.
Vinny Trocheck's the only guy that's probably been consistently producing. Him and Panarin are the only two guys that are holding up their weight, at least up in the forward department.
I don't know if I'm pretty sure Adam doesn't feel this way, but there are a lot of Ranger fans over here that love Matt Rempe. They love him so I don't know what it is. They just want him playing the most minutes every game. I don't get it.
I like Matt Rempe. I like when he plays a physical game on the edge, but doesn't get himself thrown out, for fighting within the first 5 minutes. When he actually doesn't get tossed for fighting, or that's all he's going to do, yes, he has an impact on the lineup. I don't love Rempe as much as others, but you don't take a guy like Gabe Perreault and then sit him, scratch him one game after you played him. If you're going to make that commitment, and I understand you owe it to your team, we're still alive for the playoffs, bullshit. Laviolette's been around this league long enough. That's a veteran-laden roster there with the Rangers. They all know the writing on the wall. They, if they have to put it up for face, yeah, we're still alive, but they know they're not going to. they know they're not going to win out, and Montreal's going to lose out, and Detroit's going to lose out, and Columbia, like it's just not happening. So
it was Rempe and Brodzinski over Gabe Perreault because Gabe Perreault apparently looked lost. But it's Gabe Perreault over players like Kreider, Trocheck, Zibanejad, or Lafreniere. No issue. I was like, we are off the deep end, buddy. That is a choice, which kind of sums up Rangers Twitter a little bit. But I was like, that's a choice because that's basically like if you're layering your cake, you're saying Rempe and Brodzinski over Perreault, but Perreault over these guys. And I'm like what? Like, what are we doing here? Are we just trying to like bang everybody out? Rempe probably didn't even play 10 minutes. So why does it matter?
I can make an argument for Brodzinski because he's another guy that's actually gone out and played, hard every night. One of the few guys on the Rangers that's actually trying to do something out there most nights. So like I can see Brodzinski. But yeah, at this point, if you're going to bring a guy like Perreault into the fold and you're going to bring him into this borderline toxic environment down the stretch here, just let the kid play. What are you doing? You're getting hit. You're introducing him to the vibes you don't want to introduce a young player to. So we'll see what happens there. But either way, nobody's wagering any money on that game. On the other hand, this is a game I think we're all going to watch and all want to watch. We got the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars for the final time this season. Sometimes you look at numbers and trends and you're like, but maybe it's due to go the other way. No. 7 straight unders for Winnipeg, 4 out of 6 unders for Dallas. This is going to be a tight physical game with 2 strong netminders. Dallas needs to win to keep their division hopes alive. Winnipeg's trying to take a big step towards wrapping up the division. Previous 3 meetings between these teams went under. I mean, under 5.5 minus 110 almost seems like a trap, but that's a trap. That's a trap that's got good food in it that I'm willing to take a step into and eat. I'll fall for that.
I agree with you. I'm taking the under in the 5.5 here. This is and I know these teams aren't playing right now in the first round, but this is a nice little early playoff preview. And I'm ready to watch it. I'm ready to see these two in action. As you said, Jets trying to finish the lockup here. You got the Stars. This is a good matchup right here, all in all. And I'm very excited to see these two teams go at it.
Jake Ottinger has 36 wins this season. 24 of them have come on home ice. 208 goals against average, 922 save percentage. The Dallas Stars are just a better team at home. I do agree with the under. I'm not going to change that. I would also take the Stars money line here. That's pretty good value. I think it should be a little bit higher than 118, just because of how good the Stars are at home. But yes, this is we get a little bit of a taste. You are right. The trap here is good enough. This is a high quality poutine. It's made with the fresh cut fries, the home gravy, the good cheese and stuff like that. Maybe you sprinkle a little bit of bacon and some beef over it as well. Like this is a trap I'm willing to go down in.
See, for me, the trap, if we're going to relate it to like food, would be like a nice piece of like warm blueberry pie, just warm enough to melt the strawberry ice cream, pie a la mode, just enough to melt the ice cream on top, but not totally melt it where it's gone, but just, start the process. That's what I'm stepping in here. So when the game ends 6-5 tonight, we've at least hedged and explained ourselves on why we took this trap. Because it is a very, very, everything is saying take this, and that under at 5.5 minus 110 should probably be minus 120. They're tempting us. Goals are going to come aplenty tonight. So if you want to go the George Costanza opposite strategy, take the over 5.5. It's also minus 110. Canucks Avalanche. I've got nothing involved in this one. No McKinnon in the lineup. Colorado got a couple guys day to day. Marty Natchez coming back tonight though, so that's maybe a little bit of a boost in that lineup. Looking at the starting goaltender there for tonight. Looks like we're gonna have Lankinen and Mackenzie Blackwood going tonight. So maybe an underplay is something you could go here, but I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, I'm staying away. I don't have a good feeling about this matchup here.
Yeah, Colorado minus 210 with no McKinnon. Nope. Not signing up for that.
Hey, if you want to say Vancouver is going to ride the momentum of that comeback against Dallas the other night, and maybe that's a reason to talk yourself into maybe a money line play there. If you wanted to maybe take a look on the spread, let's see what if Vancouver plus a puck and a half, minus 139, probably getting a little too juiced at that point. But if you think Vancouver can maybe keep it close, right in that comeback from the other night, it's a way to go. Predators at the Utah Hockey Club. You got Utah minus 186, Predators plus 166, total of 6 there. Starting goaltenders for tonight, it's going to be UC Saros and Karel Vejmelka. I like Utah here. They've won 4 or 5, with the only loss coming to the Kings. They've won their last 2 games by a combined score of 11-2. Utah's got that look of a hockey club that's trying, no pun intended there, to try and close strong with the hopes that momentum carries into next season. Them and the Ducks have that look written all over them right now. Preds, on the other hand, they've packed it in. It's their last road trip of the year. It's the first of 2 games. In their last 15 games, they've scored more than 2 goals on 5 occasions. So that means 10 of the last 15, they've scored 2 or less. Preds are 9-25-5 on the road. I'm tempted to go puck line here, but I also want to give Utah that much love. So a regulation win at -115, I think, provides a nice balance of the 2.
Damn, that is exactly where I was going. Utah in regulation. I was not buying on Thursday. Utah had a team total of 4 against the Kraken. I was like, man, that seems really high for Utah. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. And then they popped 7. I was like, well, maybe Vegas knows something that I don't know. But I mean, the Predators, like you said, they've won 9 games all year on the road. And we are almost at mid-April. This team just, they don't care. They scored 7 against the Islanders. They gave up 6 to the Islanders, though. That's the whole other problem. But I mean, they lost to Montreal, didn't look good in Dallas, got absolutely steamrolled in Columbus, and then they lost before that to the Philadelphia Flyers. So I don't think the Predators are any good. So I'm with you. I'll take Utah in regulation. I'll try to save some of that, save some juice.
You were mentioning that team total from the other night. The VSiN hockey analyst, Jonathan Davis, he had passed along a trend that, and I forget what the numbers were, but that Seattle was just absolutely atrocious on the back end of back-to-backs. So that's probably the reason there. Just keeping you updated on the Frozen Four. Western Michigan's had a few power plays, but they finally break through and get one for a 1-0 lead. Denver has only 5 shots about halfway through the hockey game here. So not how the Pioneers want to come out and play. Nonetheless, Western Michigan, the top overall seed, looking, it's still plenty of time left, but they have looked pretty good so far. They're in St. Louis, which is why the Blues are on the road. 2 games to go here before we wrap things up and bid you farewell on this edition of Total Hockey Now. We got the Kraken at the Golden Knights. For me in this one, it's the rubber match of the 3-game regular season series. They've each taken 1. Vegas can't clinch the division, but they can get themselves real close. Kraken have won 3 or 4, but 2 of those were against Vancouver and San Jose, so I'm not putting too much into that. It's the last road game of the season for the Seattle. It's the end of a 5-game trip, maybe a little bit of exhaustion there. I also like the under here, is the way Vegas has gone under this total in 6 straight, and I don't see Seattle scoring the way they have been against those aforementioned opponents, Vancouver and San Jose. So I'll take the Vegas on the puck line, -1.5 plus 100, and the under 6 at -108 there. Starting goaltenders tonight, Aiden Hill. Seattle is not confirmed theirs yet.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the under on the total here for all the reasons that you just stated. So I agree with you on that one.
I will take just the under here. No Jack Hughes. No Jack Eichel tonight. No Jack Hughes either. No Jack Eichel as well. There's a outside chance that Thomas Hertl plays. I'm hoping that he doesn't, so we can keep the under here. But I mean, I can't trust Seattle to score a goal. It truly doesn't matter who's in goal for them. It's not gonna matter. I don't want to swallow -266 because that is a choice, but under 6 seems, as long as Seattle doesn't get absolutely obliterated, because they could give up 6 all on their own. If we can keep this game close, that'd be kind of good. Like a 2-2 game going into overtime, that would make me happy.
I'm gonna the puck line and the under. That's a parlay for me right there. So, in Vegas, obviously a very good team on home ice, not as good on the road. Vegas takes care of business at home. And last but not least, we got a freeway face-off, the final installment of that for this season. Anaheim's coming off a back-to-back. The Kings can clinch home ice in the first round with the win. And we're looking for a bounce back after a pretty lackluster loss to Seattle on Monday. We all know how good the Kings are on home ice. They've beaten Anaheim 2 or 3 so far this season, with that 1 loss coming in a shootout. Yeah, the Ducks have won 2 in a row, but that was an Oilers team without McDavid and Draisaitl. Calgary fell on their face for the last half of that third period last night and opened the door for the Anaheim to win that game. That was not Anaheim took advantage of the opportunity, but they did not create that opportunity. So if if this wasn't a freeway faceoff game, maybe I'm worried about a trap game here for the Kings. Colorado coming up, but they're just so good at home ice. I'll take them on the puck line at -125 tonight.
I am going to go one step further here. I'm going to take the Kings -2.5.
Oh,
The Ducks on the road are just not good. There's no two ways to put it. Right, both of their last 2 wins. Right, yes, it was against Flames. Yes, it was against Edmonton. They both came on home ice. Previous to that, they went into Vancouver, got slaughtered. They went into Calgary, got slaughtered. So all 3 of their wins have come on home ice. And last time I checked, the Kings don't lose at home. It's a very rare occurrence. Sometimes they do. Darcy Kemper doesn't lose at home.
He does not.
He may not give up. He's going to keep this game. Like, I can't imagine the Ducks generating enough offense. This is also 3 and 4 for the Ducks. So probably a little bit of gas lacking here. I can see the Kings getting out to an absolute a lead and then just pounding away here at their opponent. This could be a multi-goal lead. I just need them to put the pedal to the metal and then keep it there. Suffocate the Ducks. I want them to keep piling it up 6, 7, 8-0, like they did to San Jose a week ago or something.
I'm gonna take the under, but just at 5. I could think it could be 5-0 Kings. They want this they want that home field top seed, the home ice there. So I could see them winning 5-0 maybe, but I'm not gonna take the over on that one.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, Anaheim might be out of gas here. The Kings are not they can put the puck in the net, but again, yeah, this is I'm all over the Kings here. I mean, they're gonna have that home ice in the first round against Edmonton at this point. I don't think they're gonna catch Vegas or anything like that. So, yeah, there we go. We ran the board tonight. We went through all 10 games there. Just to run through the playoff clinching scenarios tonight, we talked about the Capitals. They can clinch the 1 seed in the East if they defeat the Hurricanes in any way. Hurricanes clinch the number 2 seed in the Metro if they get at least 1 point. The Maple Leafs are idle, but they can clinch home ice in the first round. If the Panthers lose to the Red Wings in any fashion, which both Chris and I like the Red Wings tonight, Vegas can clinch the number 1 seed in the Pacific if they defeat the Kraken in regulation, and the Kings lose to the Ducks in regulation. The Kings will clinch a top 3 finish in the Pacific. They can defeat the Ducks in any fashion, and I don't think Edmonton's catching them, so that's just a step towards clinching that 2 spot. And then last but not least, the Stars will clinch a top 2 finish in the Central and home ice advantage in the first round if they get at least 1 point against the Jets or any result in the Avalanche Canucks game other than an Avalanche regulation win. So as long as the Avalanche don't win in regulation, Colorado will for sure be on the road the first round. Dallas will be home. So there we go. There's your playoff clinching scenarios. There's all 10 games previewed. We got you ready for the fantasy hockey weekend there. Yeah, the Jets Stars game of the night. And we welcomed Anthony back. So Tony Rivers, Ant Rivera 86. Good to have you back, my man.
It's been great being back. I mean, I've missed this for a long time. Had to take care of a little bit of business, but back and ready to go and ready to start this playoff push that we have. This is always the best time of year. You go from the playoffs and then we get right back into mock drafts, which is the best part of doing Total Hockey Now. So very excited to be back.
Very Vegas of us to have Ant be on LTIR, and then right before the playoffs start, we activate him.
Mark Stone style.
Very, very apropos. See, we all circumvent whatever the rules are. It doesn't matter. We find a way to do it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Ant was big on Mark Stone in drafts and stuff like that. So he's just, emulating the role. So good there. And always happy. We missed you. Great to have you back here as we get ready for the stretch run. One of the things you've been busy with, though, is the Subway to Shea podcast.
Yes, it has been very busy. I got to do host a panel with Mets Hall of Famer Dwight Gooden. That podcast should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. I got to interview Chef Adam Richman at a food event that they had at Citi Field, so that was fun. And we got to talk about our good friend Adam Fensty. Fensty joined me for a season preview a couple of weeks ago. Always great talking with Fensty, and I am going to have him more often on the show. It's always great talking with him and even bringing up our time on the playbook.
Wow, the playbook. We listen, Fenste's just all around fantastic human being. Make sure you check out his show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, weeknights 8 to 11 Eastern, for Justin Fensterman there at Fensty Sports on X. He's got your basketball, NBA playoffs right around the corner here. He's got your
even
props
dressed up for golf today. He's got the Masters he's talking about.
What can't he do? I mean, I don't know. And Slapshot podcast, Chris. What do we got coming up on the next edition?
Yes, tomorrow we are going to be talking all about Ivan Demidov. By this time tomorrow, he will be on Canadian soil, probably somewhere in a Toronto hotel. I can't get there tomorrow, so Ivan is safe from me and the rest of us. But yes, we're going to do some of that. Maybe a Puck Doku win. That would kind of be good. We're going to try to break down where exactly does Ivan Demidov fit into that lineup. It's all nice and it's all fun and games when he gets here. But now we got to get the most out of him. So I'm going to put him on a line. Most people will disagree, but the good thing about it is that it's not up for discussion. So
it's going to be Demidov mania here. I'm surprised, if he comes out and has like a really good game against Chicago, Chris will be ordering something off of NHL.com with his name on the back, whether that's a white jersey or a red jersey. I have no idea. But.
So the Montreal Canadiens team store, there's a section just for Ivan Demidov. When you click, you don't even have to search for it. You just click Ivan Demidov. They've sold out of all the like smaller size jerseys, and I was like, okay, that's fine. But yeah, I will say this: if the Montreal Canadiens make any type of run in the playoffs, I'm going to be so unbearable. I warn you now. Everybody, like if you're a Leafs fan or a Capitals fan, if you like, just be aware. Like I'm talking Tom Wilson blindside hit here, but you're like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be unbearable, and you know what I mean? I have warned you. You can't say I didn't warn you.
Right? I need a first round Montreal win and the Ottawa Senators to take out Toronto so we can get full super Chris in his element for the next
one
week and a
playoff
half.
game I went to go see was Montreal and Ottawa. I think this was 2014. It's been a minute. I went with my sister. Didn't end well for Montreal, so we erased that from my memory. But I think I could probably get some tickets. Like I could drive to Ottawa. It's not that far. It's far enough. But yeah, I'm just gonna be unbearable. So I'm sorry in advance, man. It is what it is.
If you thought he was in rare form after Canada won the Four Nations face-off, if those scenarios all happen the way that he described, that's gonna look like child's play. So there we go. Slapshot podcast coming up at the Slapshot podcast and finally at Mr. Jared Moore and myself will have an all new Rip and Riff tomorrow. Last Saturday was National Hockey Card Day. So we've got some packs that we're going to rip open and some Upper Deck MVP. And Jared's got some hockey as well. So last year, the closest hobby shop that participated in National Hockey Card Day was like 15 minutes away. This time I had to drive like over 45 minutes to go to a hobby shop to get my hands on these packs.
Were those free?
So they hand them out if you buy hockey cards and stuff. Yeah. So only certain hobby shops are in, but yeah, the closest one was that far away. And last year, I don't know if anybody recalls, but I basically got the same pack 3 times. So last time I went literally I picked one out of the left side of the box, the middle, and the right. That didn't work. This time the guy just gave me 3 straight packs out of the box. Hopefully that works better, but we'll find out tomorrow on Rip and Riff. So
is there any special cards to come out of those packs, or are they just the plain simple?
It's like its own set for National Hockey Card Day. There's rookies in there like Mishkov and Celebrini. There's parallels and stuff like that. It's its own little thing. I would compare it to and McDonald's used to do their own hockey cards in Canada for many years. So it's kind of something like that. But
Tim Hortons still does it.
Tim Hortons does it now. That's right.
Oh.
So yeah, no Tim Hortons down here does it, but they're also only by the border, and there's no Tim Hortons in California. We got Dutch Brothers, which is pretty good. That does it for this edition of Total Hockey Now. And has a feel like an old slipper. We're ready to go. We didn't pull any muscles or anything. We're okay.
No, we're good. We're good to go. I'm feeling healthy. We got to see how we feel tomorrow morning. Now, when we wake up in the morning and see how stretch it out a little bit, see if everything is good and intact still, we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, like you said, it's not the day after. It's usually the day after you build. So we'll find out. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91 and for at Ant Rivera 86, I am at Pucking Thoughts Adam Bernard. We'll have a complete playoff preview next week on the next edition of Total Hockey Now. Good luck in your fantasy hockey championships. Maybe you'll get to wear a crown like this guy right here. Thank you, Burger King. Back with you for the new edition, Total Hockey Now, on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel next week. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're live or watching on a replay. We love you and thank you.